It's time for the Brew and Shavers Sports Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Brew and Shavers Sports Podcast. You'll notice it's just me this week. Darren is out with family, traveling to Tennessee to attend the funeral of a family member who unfortunately, unexpectedly passed. So we want to definitely keep Darren and his family in our thoughts and prayers as they travel to Tennessee and, of course, as they travel back to Louisiana this week. So you got me this week, and there's a lot to talk about as we get into the show today. We want to start off with, unfortunately, some sad news. I know that we're recording on Memorial Day, and Memorial Day is typically a day where we remember people who made the ultimate sacrifice so we could live in the freedom that we have here in this particular country. And so whatever your Memorial Day plans were, I hope there was time where you reflected on that sacrifice and honored those who made the ultimate sacrifice for us. It's a wonderful holiday, and I hope that you took some time to remember why we have the holiday in the first place. Speaking of remembering, we had sad news come out today that Bill Walton, only 71 years old. I can't believe only 71 years old. He always seemed so healthy, but Bill Walton at the age of 71, it was announced today that he's passed away after a battle with cancer. I did not realize this battle was going on, and it's sad to even report this news because of what he meant to the game of basketball on so many different levels and in different capacities as well. Of course, Bill Walton played for the legendary John Wooden at UCLA. He was a three-time National College Player of the Year, 3 consecutive years, starting in 72, 73, and 74. At UCLA, his teams won national championships in 1972 and 73, and they also had an 88-game winning streak. Just think about that for a moment. 88 games. That's absolutely phenomenal. He was the first overall pick in the 1974 NBA draft, went to the Portland Trail Blazers, where he led them to a title in 1977. He won his second NBA title as a role player with the Boston Celtics in 1986, the same year that he won Sixth Man of the Year award. That was toward the end of his career. He wasn't the player he once was. He battled injuries throughout his career. But when Bill Walton was healthy, absolutely incredible basketball player. He was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame in 1993. So Bill Walton has passed. You may have never seen him play. Maybe you know him from broadcasting. And he was a very eccentric personality, calling games and in interviews and doing his analysis. There just wasn't anybody else like Bill Walton. So sad to report that Bill Walton has passed. I know this is kind of a downer way to start the show, but we do have some other sad news in our news and notes, and this comes out of the PGA Tour. Golfer Grayson Murray died on Saturday morning. The reports are saying his family reported it was suicide. He was only 30 years old. He had won the Sony Open in Hawaii back in January, and he was part of last week's Charles Schwab Challenge in Fort Worth. He went into the second round. He withdrew during that round. And evidently there were things going on that even the people closest to him, it's hard to always read those situations, but it's a tragic story about Grayson Murray. And we definitely, our hearts go out to his family right now. And if you are struggling at all, if you've ever had suicidal ideations, or you struggle with any type of addiction or anything, past hurts that have never healed, and you feel like there's nobody that you can talk to or nobody that would understand, please know this, that there is someone who will listen. There are people who you can call and lean on. And I want to encourage you, don't let that hard day win. If you're going through some hard days right now, I want to encourage you to keep keep on keeping on and to be courageous enough to reach out and ask for help. Certainly, we will keep Grayson Murray's family in our thoughts and prayers. There is no Sports Minute this week with Darren being gone, but we want to jump right into the NCAA College Baseball Regionals. It was announced today. We already knew who the host sites were, but now we get all the teams and where they're going to be playing. The SEC showed up big for this. 11 SEC teams, which is a record. They are all over the college baseball postseason scene. The top 4 seeds, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas A&M, and North Carolina. 3 out of the 4 top seeds are SEC schools. So let's look a little bit at some of the regionals. I'm not going to go into the regionals that don't have any SEC teams. I mean, why would you want to watch those anyway? But let's start with the Knoxville Regional, where the number 1 overall seed, Tennessee Volunteers, it has been placed. And in that regional, they have Northern Kentucky, Indiana, and Southern Mississippi. The Tallahassee Regional is where Alabama wound up. Tallahassee Regional is hosted by number 8 Florida State. Also, Stetson and UCF find themselves in that regional. The Fayetteville Regional, of course, is hosted by number 5 Arkansas. And also joining them in that regional are Southeast Missouri State, Kansas State, and the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Over in the Lexington Regional, hosted by number 2 Kentucky, we find Western Michigan, Illinois, and Indiana State. Terre Haute is coming to Lexington. In the Raleigh Regional, hosted by number 10 North Carolina State, South Carolina wound up in that regional. In the Athens Regional, number 7 Georgia is the host. In the Clemson Regional, hosted by number 6 Clemson, Vanderbilt wound up in that regional. In the Stillwater Regional, a little bit of a surprise here, Florida winds up in the Stillwater Regional, hosted by number 11 Oklahoma State. In the Bryan College Station Regional, hosted by number 3 A&M, we also find a couple, I got to mention this, a couple other Louisiana schools, Grambling and of course UL, University of Louisiana. I think there are 6 schools from Louisiana represented in postseason play. That's quite a tribute to baseball in this state. But the madness of the college baseball postseason is that in the A&M regional, Texas wound up in that regional. So you have these 2 schools that hate each other, and tension is not any better at all, because with Texas coming officially into the SEC in the fall, it's gonna be rough, and it's gonna start, I think, now in the postseason play with oh my goodness, with A&M. So that'll be, if you're not a baseball fan, you might want to check out that game regardless. Other regionals that I have mentioned, Norman, the Sooners are hosting number 9 Oklahoma. I know they're not officially in the SEC, but we're still including them in conversations. In their regional, they're also joined by in-state school Oral Roberts, Duke, and Connecticut. Think about this. You have Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma is hosting a regional. Texas is in postseason play. These 2 schools are already joining the SEC, which has 11 schools in this year. So if OU and Texas were officially in, that's 13 schools. Absolutely phenomenal, incredible. SEC dominance in baseball. Let's see, I'm looking over the list here, see what I forgot. The Chapel Hill Regional, hosted by, how could I forget this one? Number 4, North Carolina. Also in that regional are Long Island, Wofford, and of course, the LSU Tigers. So I'm looking over my list here. I think we hit all the regionals, unless I just, Charlottesville. I forgot Charlottesville, hosted by number 12 Virginia. That's where the Mississippi State Bulldogs wound up. So if you look over this, I think there's 5 regionals hosted by SEC teams, a total of 11 SEC teams in postseason play. It might be fun in Omaha again this year. We'll just wait and see how things pan out. There's a lot more baseball to be played. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but certainly there's a lot of excitement at the outset here. These regionals will give way to the super regionals, which will be played from June 7th to June 10th. And then, of course, we're going to Omaha for the College World Series, June 14th to either June 26th or June 27th, depending on the number of games that need to be played. So that's the breakdown for the regionals for college baseball. Again, the top 4 teams: Tennessee, number 1, Kentucky, number 2, Texas A&M, number 3, and North Carolina, number 4. So out of these regionals, you'll have 16 regional winners will advance to a best of 3 super regionals, which I mentioned those dates. And then we'll have 8 winners go to Omaha. This is a great time of year. I know we're waiting for college football to come back. We're counting down the days. We always have a countdown, an update on this show every week, how many days left until college football. But Omaha is virtually here. It's almost June, and we're jumping right into it. So it's going to be a fun time. If you're a baseball fan or not, if you just love sports, you don't want to miss postseason college baseball play. Speaking of SEC showing up big, we've mentioned this before on several different occasions, and that is the NBA playoffs. The number of SEC players who are really stepping up in these playoffs. We're down to the Eastern and the Western Conference Finals. And on paper, it doesn't look like it's been very competitive. Boston is leading Indiana 3-0. Dallas is leading Minnesota 3-0. I think Boston plays tonight, Boston and Indiana. They have a chance to clinch. And Dallas, of course, has a chance to clinch tomorrow night, Tuesday night. So by the time you see this, which this episode is not scheduled to come out to either Wednesday or Thursday, we may already have the finals set, the 2 teams that are going to play. But when I look at this Dallas team, I'm really impressed by the play of PGA Washington out of Kentucky. He came to Dallas in a trade, has really stepped it up, become a threat from 3-point range, a much needed third option to go along with Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Then on the Minnesota side, everyone's talking about Anthony Edwards. He struggled a little bit in this series, but still flashes of brilliance, a huge upside as he continues to grow and mature. But the player that has stood out the most in my mind, he's been on fire from 3-point range, is Naz Reid from LSU. An absolutely terrific postseason play. The fans love him. He's showing up big. I know he had a chance to win the game with a 3 the other night and missed it. I think it clanged off the back rim, but an incredible postseason for him. So the SEC, everywhere you turn, pick a sport and you'll find SEC. So that's one reason we love talking about this conference, and one reason why we go along with that slogan, that it just means more. So that's a little bit of our information for this week. One of the things that we were going to do, which has been postponed because of Darren's family situation, is to do a countdown of the best Office episodes. So if you're an Office fan, be looking for that in the next couple of weeks. We have a couple of special guests who are going to join us, including one. I've never met someone who knows as much about The Office as he does. So I'm looking forward to this episode in the next couple of weeks. Looking forward to Darren being back as well. So that's a little bit of a breakdown of the major events and news as we go into this week, the last week of May. Darren wanted me to mention, he didn't know if I was going to mention the new EA Sports college football game and how they broke different schools into tiers. And I think they put Vanderbilt in tier 4. And Darren wanted me to let everybody know he's not happy about that. But I want to say, if you're not happy about it, then your school needs to do something about it. You got to win some football games, man. You got to show up and you got to play. But anyway, I don't want to pick on Darren too much about that, because right now I guarantee you he's completely focused on baseball and he's watching Vanderbilt. As always, thank you for watching another episode. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That helps us. as we try to reach more people who just love to talk about sports and not deal with all the other stuff that goes on. We do this completely out of love for sports, particularly SEC sports. And we're just tickled to death that you want to be a part of this and watch this show. And when you comment, even if you're critical, we love it. We love it because it shows that you're passionate about the game, you're passionate about your team, and that's the kind of people we want to be a part of this podcast. So remember, this episode, most episodes come out on Tuesdays. This one probably won't come out till Wednesday or Thursday. But until next time, when Darren is back, y'all take care.
Thank you for making the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast your go-to sports show. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our show if you haven't already. Your feedback is important. Let us know what you think about this week's show. Send an email to brewandshavers@gmail.com or text to our text line, 318-390-3599. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for listening to the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast. See you next week.